JAX is the only one who won't make it to the end of the digital circus, and you know that already. One of the things I know people didn't ask themselves in this teaser is that in episode 9, the trailer always showed everyone's face, but JAX only appears in flashbacks. When his face appears in the present, his eyes are covered, he's freaking out, he's losing it, and everyone is watching from a distance as he succumbs to this end. This big focus on JAX freaking out in the trailer is pretty symbolic, and as we already know, this scene here is cut. Glitch hides things in their trailers, and JAX is really losing his mind. We've already seen him having these little mental breakdowns, especially when he's alone, when he's facing other situations, other adventures. He's that guy who doesn't really have anywhere to go back to when he leaves the circus, and pretty much everything good he has is there, even though he knows his reality isn't a very good one. Actually, he's more trapped there than anyone else, because the digital circus has to be his safe place, and also his refuge. But when Glitch ended up releasing the first image from episode 9, which was literally the circus crew and JAX on the outside, left out, heading into the darkness while the circus crew stayed in the light. In a panic, he was basically there, dealing with the situation that he would have to accept his new reality. He's having panic attacks because he did something in real life that we don't know about, and he ended up in conflict with his own thoughts. But the teaser itself shows Ribbit asking him if he has reconsidered something he did. That's because she knows exactly what he did in real life, and she got into conflict with him because of it. But it's good to remember that the digital circus is based on a book that also got a well-known game like I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And yes, I was shocked because I found out it's on PlayStation. Buy it with the link in the description. But that story is really melancholic. We have a group of humans who are trapped under the control of an AI, and they're subjected to various psychological ordeals. And these simulations mess with their biggest trauma, and they live in that forever. Just like in Digital Circus, we ended up seeing that those humans, just like in the book, managed to deal with the AI temporarily, but that AI ended up coming back to torture them later, and the only way they had to save themselves was literally to destroy themselves. Because without an organic body, they wouldn't be alive to live forever in that chaos. In Digital Circus, it suggests that the ending will be similar. Even with that calm, everyone believes that Kane is gone. A lot of people think he might come back at the end, but there's also the possibility that he won't return for the end of the circus. If Kane returns, he'll torture the players, but since he might not come back, JAX could lose it in that situation because they would end up succumbing to a much more tense and dangerous atmosphere inside the amazing Digital Circus. That server won't have a way out for them, and surviving in there won't be easy at all. Even the trailer already shows the digital circus with a much heavier atmosphere. Except for the flashbacks, we can see, man, that everyone is really traumatized, and JAX is the only one whose face doesn't appear. I truly believe that this scene is hiding JAX's face, zooming in so that no one knows he's already having a panic attack at the beginning of episode 9. This man is going to be his end. He'll probably detach or go crazy because he won't be able to adapt to this reality. He was doing really well, man, with the digital circus adventures, but he was already starting to lose his mind every time he was alone. Now that Kane is gone, his mind won't be occupied with the other players anymore. And they might even try to find some kind of exit, or even force the exit open to escape from the circus. But the thing is, he's the guy who doesn't really have anywhere to go back to, and maybe he'll end up staying behind to sacrifice himself so the other players can escape. There's a strong possibility that within the Circus Code's programs, one player needs to stay there to keep the server active so the others can escape from the digital circus. And he would be that character who actually has a bigger motivation to stay there. I'm really unsure about this theory when it comes to fitting him in with King, because King is also that guy who ended up losing his wife in the circus. But he would still have a career and maybe could work on the outside to help restore the minds of the abstracted players. He's a very valuable programmer within the Digital Circus universe. JAX, he couldn't do anything good in the real world. So, when we see scenes where he's there, like messing with everyone's head when they're in a hurry to leave, and they even question him, talking back to him, saying that maybe he has someone waiting for him. When he's asked about it, the look on his face changes completely. It's like, clearly he doesn't have anyone to go back to. He has no reason to leave the circus. Maybe for him, that place was much better than anything he ever experienced in real life. The way the digital circus works shows that several characters inside have had traumas in real life. Everyone went through some really tough situation. King had his AI, which was practically replaced by a more advanced AI. The cat had family problems. Pomini had a monotonous job. Gangle had self-esteem issues. Everyone went through some problem, whether it was about acceptance, career, or anything else, and that affected their personality. JAX is the only character whose real-life story we don't know exactly, but everything suggests that he did go through something really bizarre. And he might have denied a lot of that, precisely because he knows that it could be a manipulation by Kane. But when he thinks that it's real, and he talks to himself having a panic attack, it's very likely that he remembered something in real life that he did that was so cruel, or that his real life is so ridiculous that he doesn't want to go back there. I imagine that the idea of JAX's sacrifice is the best moment for him to have his great redemption. The main story of the circus is basically centered on him, and that focus has gradually grown over time. Kane's torture takes practically all the experiences and memories that the players still have and that he had access to, in order to create situations that are uncomfortable. For example, JAX would basically be the target of everyone's bullying, and the other players would even rip off his mask, revealing who he really is despite trying to hide it. This man is a very telling sign because it shows exactly how fragile he is. He always put on a tough guy mask, trying to create an image that wasn't really him, just to, feel stronger, even though he knows that, in reality, he's one of the characters who suffered the most or who also made other people suffer in the digital circus. It's that symbol of the oppressed wanting to become the oppressor. The digital circus puts a lot of signs like this in each of the episodes, and JAX is pretty much the biggest example of that. A lot of theories and animations came up because of that, highlighting his closest friendship with Ribbit because, they were there together and ended up spending a lot of time getting closer. Ribbit really was a character who got very close to her, and he probably ended up getting close to her, giving her information, and she also ended up going crazy. A lot of people in the circus, especially Hagata, blame Ribbit's abstraction exclusively on JAX because JAX wasn't really the kind of guy who, was a good influence on her. And that ended up putting Calfamo in the same situation where she, along with him, started abstracting and went crazy inside the digital circus. Man, the clips about this are really good. I'll include them in the description so you can see how people imagine this circus story. Honestly, JAX is clearly going to give in here, because he managed to adapt well to that playful universe where nothing was taken seriously and everything that happened could be reversed. For example, we know that Gangle, who has a mask that can break, not just her happy mask, but her sad mask will break too. For example, I imagine that famous mask, from the CLT adventure, the plastic one with that black and white eye. We saw this here in the teaser. This mask is going to show up again in the next episode, because maybe we might even witness a kind of death of the circus, because if Gangle's mask ends up breaking, whether it's because of JAX or any other character, this might be the only way, maybe, to tape it back together and make her breathe and exist inside the circus again. I imagine this will be a trigger for JAX to go even crazier because he kept bothering Gangle. And yes, she might also make connections or even recover part of her memory through this, so that everyone can make their way toward a much more dignified ending in the circus. This explains, for example, the scenes with doors and a big maze. We don't know if these theories will actually happen. I'm just guessing here with you. But every time we stop and think that JAX is the main focus of this adventure, we imagine that he's already gone crazy. At the start of the episode, the panic attacks had begun, and he seemed to lose his mind in every scene, especially in episode 7. That was supposed to happen, and we don't know if he had a hallucination with Ribbit, precisely because of Kane's influence, since it was an adventure. But we never saw him, manipulating things inside the players' rooms. But we know that the layout of the rooms is meant to poke at some buried memory of each of the players in the circus. So, a lot of bad things are still going to happen, but JAX is the main focus. He could be the guy who helps everyone get out, or he might end up sacrificing himself or sacrificing everyone else in an attempt to make sure no one escapes. If he has to leave with everyone else, he'll make sure the other players don't leave because he won't want to leave. But if he can choose to let everyone else leave and stay behind himself, he could even be that great player capable of saving everyone else's life, because he knows that there's nothing good waiting for him in the real world. And he can use this as a kind of consequence for doing something good because he really cares about the other players. But I don't like to take any of this too seriously. There are some people here in the comments rooting to see if he will survive, and there are those who think he will go crazy. Share your thoughts here, man, on which side you're on. I've already discussed theories about everyone escaping, him getting stuck, and everyone getting stuck, but this is a cool topic I discussed with you all in the comments. JAX could be the hero of the digital circus, who we thought was a villain, completely toxic, but who ended up sacrificing himself so the others could get out. It would be a fitting ending for the series, and for him too.